Do you want to start anything?
You start. You started the collection. You start this.
The collection is something that I found out was, it felt like it was meant to be, and I've been doing it since I was such a small child. As I showed before, my first thing I ever jarred are baby frogs when I was 7. My dad taught me how to preserve things, and it just felt like that's what I should have. So it started out as a little shelf, and then that started growing and growing. And then I learned the term Wunderkammer, which is wonder cabinet in German, and that was, we found out that most of the Natural History Museum started as just a nobleman's collection that was turned over to the state eventually. And that became incredibly important to know a term for that, a term for my madness and the things that I had always done. So it was really just an excuse for him to get something new and invite people over to have a party based around like the new thing that he's acquired. And I said, I've been doing that my whole life, so sure. At the moment I say that I'm 701 years old because I can't remember my past and you cannot prove that those are my parents. 1320 was my birth year. I've been through all of it, but remember none of it. Darling?
Yeah, I'd known he was doing this, and I grew up in a very boring place around boring people, and I always wanted to live in an old-fashioned black and white horror film, and we both grew up with lots of that, as well as Adam's Family, and creepy little roadside attractions. And not too long after we got together, we said, let's just become a tourist trap and invite strangers into our home. So at this point, we've had over, I think, 8,200 people over the course of about a decade.
Pretty good for a tiny house in Swissville, Pennsylvania.
We didn't know anybody else would like it, so it's all bonus for us. But yeah, we get to live in a world of our own making, and we aren't real adults, and we can spend our day putting tiny wigs on little dead foxes and trying to shove martinis at them. It's pretty alright.
And life sustains us. We find that no matter what happens throughout our lives, we're able to keep the manor going and keep ourselves going, and just sort of stay ourselves no matter what. We've never run across something where we've had to change immensely who we were or what we did, and it's never been for anyone else other than ourselves. In fact, we'd be happier if all of you died and it was just the two of us being able to pick off the bones and put them in our house.
We'd need a bigger house for that many skeletons.
Well, we could easily steal one. I could find a way to prop this up on enough blocks and bricks and lumber to tote that down the hill to somewhere else and park it next to a bigger mansion. Obviously, this house is never going away unless the mines tend to take it. And that is my plan for if anything ever does happen to me or my wife, to set the entire place ablaze and explode it into the mines underneath.
Wish we quit saying that.
It's the only plan that I have, my dear. The only plan. They say, you know, well, what? Oh, aren't you planning for the future? So the future is in a lot of the people's day and age now is that you're all just going to die. It's all death humor, but not in the macabre way that it used to be in the 1800s and whatnot.
No, it's not the gallows humor anymore. It's just a sort of sense of existential dread all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit less whimsical.
Dense nihilism where you just assume you're going to die tomorrow, so why not live for today?
We were listening to something about Alfred Hitchcock's songs being murdered by the other night, and
it was
he
so gleeful.
Such glee about all his weird little jokes about, you know, dying and being murdered. That's sweet. We grew up on a lot of that kind of thing.
The Adamses being one of our biggest influences, as they were able to be themselves, welcome anybody into their home and say, well, it's up to you to run out screaming. I'm just providing you steaming tea and cookies that are shaped like bugs. Why not eat them? Just because you can't handle arsenic, that's not our fault.
Yeah, they were always so welcoming, and they loved each other too. The Adamses were the most loving family ever on television. They were supportive of their children. They were passionate about each other.
Slept in the same bed.
Yeah, for 1964, that was quite a lot. But they didn't follow the stereotypical sitcom relationship where you have to hate each other and
angry wife, idiot husband.
Yeah, we hate that. You know, marry someone who's like you and make up your own world.
One of our favorite episodes was the titular one, or not titular, that's the wrong one, but the life-changing one, the turning point one, where Pugsley wanted to be a Boy Scout. And they just kind of went with it, because they're like, well, we still love him, even though this is aberrant to us. In fact, we have what we know to be the Boy Scout manual from that episode that was donated to us. So that was such an important one, because that's the way my parents were. Like, even though I was strange, and they were a bit strange, they sort of just let me do my thing. And same with her parents. I mean, they're very white bread America, wonderful people, but definitely not her style.
I grew up in a 50s sitcom, really, but I don't think they knew I'd grow up to live in a place like this. But they understand now. They understand it makes me happy.
Yeah, they put up with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't believe in me for a long time, but I showed them. I forced her to move out and in with me. That was her choice.
I was stalking him through his hot rod club before that, so I was fine with the situation.
Luckily, I had enough to offer you, Lydia.
Well, I wasn't going to marry an accountant.
Imagine the collection I could have if I were an accountant. Well, our final message is always, I'm sure a lot of the people you talk to say the same thing, and it's always be yourself and find a way to live as yourself and sustain no matter what you're trying to do, because it's not about the people outside of your home, it's about who you're living with and who you welcome in with you. We only welcome in the people we like.
Yeah, but we've met so many great people doing this and inspired them and inspired lots of young people who may not have had an outlet otherwise, but you can make yourself in your own image and become the strange that you wish to see in the world and make your own strange surroundings like we have.
I like to think that we've created quite a lot of little weirdos from our tours.
Yeah.
Kids are the
That's
best ones to
sweet.
come through. Yeah. Because then you know that this is eventually going to be in the future. To the chagrin of their parents who forced them to come on a tour.
Well, you guys are a blast. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.